been a good week. I'll touch on that. Can't explain how excited my wife Susan and I are, our family, and I think we knew what this could be when we came here, and we're not there yet, but we're growing, and to have an unbelievable relationship with your athletic director, to have the fans, the support, the passion in this community. I've said it many times, we're college town people. We enjoy the relationships that you build in a college town and a college community, and that's been very important to us and made us feel so comfortable, and we're excited. We can keep building. We'll get to see a new facility here that we're standing in, renovated, and be able to recruit to that, and that's exciting as well. But there's been a lot of work. There's been speed bumps along the way, there's no question. I feel great about the guys in the locker room. I feel unbelievable with our staff. I say it all the time, every head coach is just as good as the people he surrounds himself with, and I'm very blessed in that area. So enough about that, and then we'll obviously a hard-fought game against Indiana. Indiana played great. Man, they were terrific. I thought it was as high a level game as we've been a part of all year, in terms of both teams making great plays, both teams competing at a high level. In a one or two possession game, the little things are diving on the floor for loose balls, even in the first half. Trent's calling the timeout, having the savvy to do that. All those things played out and played great. Kofi was tremendous in the second half after really being subpar of the first. But a great team win, and now it's on to Ohio State, who's probably shooting the ball as well as any team in the country, not just the Big Ten. They're doing it from 5 spots. Chris has done an unbelievable job this year of really transforming that team a little bit. They've gone from a heavy post-up team to a team that's taking close to 33s a game. So C.J. Walker at the points, giving him a nice addition, and then a lot of the other pieces we're familiar with, and Washington has really stepped up and been great for them as well. So it'll be another night in the Big Ten, and we're excited to be in the position we're in and have to go up there and play well to have a chance.
Right, you just spoke about, you know them well, but you haven't played them this year. Does it feel like an unfamiliarity or a familiarity going into this game at this point in the season?
Well, I think I said it before, Indiana, I mean, it's a little different, not knowing them. I mean, we know their personnel. We watched them on film as, play the opponents we were playing, so you may not be as dialed in, but you're still got a pretty good idea of what's going on. And so, it's just the way the schedule worked, and, we'll deal with it the best way we can.
How's it feel to take care of business the next 2 games? You guys are at least co-Big Ten champions.
That's why we came here. I don't think you can. It's the best conference in the country. It's played out. Every team's had its laps. Every team's played great. For the most part, every player has had a lapse. That's an elite player. That's what this league does to you. And to survive all of that and be in the last week, and be relevant, be in the conversation for a league title. That's what we came here to do, and doesn't make it any easier, but it's what it's right in front of us, and we're aware of that.
What do you see from your team, Brad, that's allowed them to be locked in right from the tip when you're away from home? It doesn't seem like you guys get dump trucked early on in the game.
Well, let's hope that continues. I think that, there's something about being on the road, being locked up in a hotel, being together. I wish I could pinpoint that. Maybe I don't know. It's been a great focus, though. It's kind of been us against the world mentality. these venues, and this team's been able to thrive on that. So maybe it's just that simple. I don't know.
It would seem like, though, that would be conducive to what you got coming up here for a postseason run.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you've got to. It's not that there's any easy games in this league, because there's not. Every night you have to show up and you have to be mentally prepared, and there's nothing that prepares you better for postseason or an end of the season run than the Big Ten. And you have to do it every night. You have to bring it every night. And I know we're going to get Ohio State's best shot, just like we got Indiana's. And being mentally and physically prepared is a big part of it.
How does the culture and chemistry on the team right now reflect with some of the tournament teams that you've coached before?
It's right there with them. I think there's a couple of key points in that. I think one is this group has continued to work. They've really bought into that piece of it. I mean, whether it's the weight room, whether it's film, whether it's individual workouts on top of practice, continuing to buy into getting better both individually and as a team. And then the other part of that is having fun. When you get to March, it's about cutting it loose. It's not holding anything back. You don't have 26 more games. You get to a point where if you lose, you go home. And this is what you talk about, and this is what you work for. And this team's really bought into that, just as some of the other 4 teams have.
Do you think that it would be the same if you guys had a losing record and weren't in the same position?
I don't know. I'm glad we're not. We had it last year. I mean, we continued to work and grow last year. And I think it speaks volumes to the character in our locker room. And guys came here to get better, and guys came here to want to have an opportunity to play for something big. And part of that process is growing and maturing, and we've done that.
Kofi's faced a bunch of really good big guys. What do you see in Weston, and what's key for him to have a good night against them?
Well, yeah, he's a dual threat. I mean that from the standpoint he's evolved into one of the league's best three-point shooters. I think he's shooting 53% from the three in their wins. He's got tremendous range, probably as good a range as anybody in our league at any position. And then he's a guy who's gets it on the glass, goes right shoulder, left shoulder in the post. He's an elite player. He's smart. He's not maybe the best athlete in our league, but boy, he sure knows how to use his 270 pounds. He knows how to use his length. He's got great length. So it's a challenge, and he plays out on the floor a great deal, and that's a change Chris has made with them, and boy, he's been very effective. I think he had 4 threes in their last game.
After the January they had, what's impressed you most about what they've been able to do, and they're playing February?
Yeah, it's a winning program, and Chris is a heck of a coach, and that team has a lot of veterans, and they're like every other team. They've gone through that spell, and they went through theirs early, and it's bound to happen in this league. And when you get literally 10, 12 teams that are 14 teams that are really good, you're gonna have certain nights, and it's easy to get on a little bit of a skid, and they did, as we did, and Michigan State and everybody else. So Chris has got a heck of a program. They've got veterans. They've got a winning culture. It was a matter of time before they bounce back.
You mentioned the guys continuing to work. How important was maybe that 4-game losing streak to kind of remind you guys that as high as you had gotten, you still had a lot of work left to do?
Yeah, I don't think we made too much about the 7-game winning streak. I don't think we made too much about the 4-game losing streak. I think we just try to stay at an even keel and know that it is about work. It's about the fundamental things. It's about doing the simple things every day. And you're never as good as people tell you are, and you're never as bad as people tell you are. And it's just about finding that level that you can perform at it and be consistent, and you have to do that for 12, 14 weeks in this league, and that's a challenge sometimes. So we kept an even keel, we kept fighting, and we fought through some injuries, and Georgie not playing great, and now we're back on the right side of that.
Io said he feels like you guys came out of that streak better as a team than you went into it. Do you agree with that? And maybe what's better about that?
Well, we're better now that he's on the court. That was part of it, and at least the Rutgers game. But I think that he's got a great feel for our locker room, and he's got a great feel for our team. I think we made a change in the lineup that has been beneficial, and that's probably helped us from the offensive side of things a little bit, and yet it's what you have to do to figure out how to win, and we made those changes.
On Sunday, you talked a lot about Andres' winning pedigree. Io has one as well. How much can they lean on that when maybe they haven't been in this situation in college basketball?
Oh, they're leaning on a lot. There's something about it, and I don't know how to describe it, but they have it, and you don't run from it. And winners win. They know how hard you have to work. They know how passionate you have to be. They know how committed you have to be. They have that, and there's no doubt that can carry over and permeate throughout a locker room.
Brad, I think Io scored in double digits in 18 of the last 19 games he's played in. What does that scoring consistency say about him?
Yeah, it's a really good player. Knowing that you're the top guy on the scouting report for every opponent, and they're trying to figure out how to take you away and take your strengths away. And I think it shows the tremendous improvement in his game. Right-handed, left-handed, pull-up jump shots, threes, finishing at the rim. There's not a weakness that he has. He's been able to exploit a lot of things and a lot of different coverages, and that's a tribute to him and his hard work.
You mentioned Jordan. Just where do you feel like he is in a better place now? Why do you feel like he's in a better place?
Yeah, we got old Georgie back, and I think it was the other night was great. I think defensively, it stemmed more from that than maybe the baskets he scored. Just doing the job he did on Trace, and you watch that game, and that was a dominant performance defensively by Georgie in the second half, and just not allowing him to touch. He got a couple of rebounds that he had not been getting. All those things are confidence builders, and then he got a couple easy baskets, and we've got old Georgie back.
You had to pause a little bit on Sunday and talking about him. You said you were going to get emotional from a coach's perspective to see him kind of go through the process to get his old self back. What was that like for you?
Well, I think you hate to see young people struggle, and whatever the reasons, and there are a lot of conversations, there were a lot of work, and to his credit, I'm proud of him. I mean, we all go through it in life. We all have a down moment or a down cycle, and it happens in basketball more frequently than most people know, and the game escapes you for whatever reason, and yet his ability to become an unbelievable teammate never wavered, and that's what this thing's built on is guys like that. So I couldn't be prouder of him, and now he's fought his way back through it, and those are all positives.
So last year in Columbus, road win, Io hits a clutch shot. How important of a building block was that, where both of those things have been amplified quite a bit this season?
Well, we hadn't won on the road very much to that point, so I think it was vital that at some point we had to break break that streak, and it was kind of a hard-fought, grinded-out, gritty game that came down to Io doing what he does, and that was hit a big shot, hit a big three, in a night that he really wasn't great. Georgie was off the chart in that game, but it was a starting point. It was something that we could build on. We know that we could beat a really good team on the road.
So you guys put an exclamation point on not only extending your contract, but your assistants. And I know there was one press conference where you mentioned, I think it was the night Io was injured, that not that it mattered to any of us, but Zach Griffith was also hurt. How important is extending the staff and all those smaller players on the team too, and just really making sure they're taken care of?
Well, I say this, and I mean, head coaches get too much credit and we get too much blame as well. And I mean that from the standpoint that you have to work with people. We spend a tremendous amount of time together that you enjoy being around all the time. And you have to be around people that you trust. You have to have loyalty built into that. We've developed an unbelievable chemistry all throughout our staff, and that cohesiveness is really important to me. It's important to the success of a program. Those guys are all going to become head coaches, and I don't want them to be any place but the University of Illinois until that opportunity comes for them. And Josh was he was phenomenal. I mean, he believes the same thing, and this is a special place, and to be able to keep those guys and keep the momentum we have was a big piece of this this contract extension for everybody.